Okay, this isn't how I usually open these videos, but I've been sitting at my desk staring at my blank final draft document for 5 minutes now, completely stumped on where to start. There's so much I want to say about this episode that I can't even decide on where to begin. So I hope you'll allow me to ease into this topic a bit. Here goes. For years now, my favorite episode of Death Battle has been Saitama vs. Popeye. Between my attachment to the characters and the insane quality of the editing, animation, and so on, it more than earned its place at the top for me. And it's stayed there ever since its release, with very few episodes since then even coming close to competing with it in my opinion. Even Guts vs. Dimitri, for as much as I adore the episode, didn't manage to steal away the crown. For an episode to do that, it would need to be the perfect storm, so to speak. It'd need an engaging script, appealing editing, solid humor, banging music, god-tier animation, and some element of novelty to set it apart from the rest of Death Battle's far-reaching history. You see where this is going, right? Bill Cipher vs. Discord is the winner of last year's 2D poll for the Champions ballot, and if I'm honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of it back when that poll was running. That's mostly due to the matchup's reputation as a magnet for toxicity in the versus community, which in fairness wasn't exactly unfounded. I mean, when the mods in the Death Battle Discord are forced to shut down a channel dedicated to discussing a matchup because of how much of a cesspool it was, that's how you know it's really gotten out of hand. By comparison, I liked most of the other matchups on the 2D poll a lot more. To quickly run through them, Cat Ichigo seems fine enough, Among Guys is based as fuck, Kyle Simone has no appeal outside of Will of the Drill, Ori Knight is great, and Showtime is excellent. All that is to say, I was somewhat hesitant when Bill Cord ended up winning. And that's exactly why you shouldn't let an idea be soured by the community around it. Bill vs. Discord basically walked up to me, punched me in the face, stole my drink, and warped the fabric of space-time to bring the top of my list down to its level so it wouldn't be inconvenienced flying to the top. I was so blown away by it on my first watch that I legitimately could not process it, and its shine hasn't dulled after several, and I do mean several rewatches. All of the criteria I laid out for what makes an episode exceptional, Bill vs. Discord has it in spades. It's not just an achievement as far as Death Battle goes, it's a celebration of the show and its community, which is fitting since it was voted into the season by the community. A community that, if I'm being quite honest, doesn't entirely deserve something this good a lot of the time. But okay, I hear you. Everyone says the episode is good. You didn't click on this video to hear that with no substantiation. Well, if all you want is to experience substantiation, I suppose you wouldn't object to me breaking down every single aspect of it and how it all comes together. It's a deal then. No clicking away now. We shook on it after all. Let's begin with Bill's analysis, where there's already a ton of stuff to talk about. The writing approaches Bill less like a character and more like a malevolent force, which is an extremely fitting choice for him. It was a ton of fun to see Gravity Falls footage on screen and to hear about its many charming characters, with Bill himself being very high on that list for me. Gravity Falls is definitely up there in the ranks of my favorite cartoons, so getting it on Death Battle with an episode as good as this made me a very happy camper. Something important to note about this episode's analyses and verdict is that you're not going to get the full picture just by listening to what Wiz and Boomstick are saying. There are a lot of black boxes here that delve into the abstract levels of power at play and providing more context than would naturally fit in the script. So if you're going to disagree with the episode, you'd better 1. Look at all the black boxes and take what they say into account, and 2. Actually say what you disagree with and why. Seriously, I've seen and heard so many people go, well, I disagree, but the episode's still great, without providing any further elaboration, and it's gotten pretty annoying if I'm being honest. Wow, a bit early for a tangent, isn't it? Sorry about that, I've been feeling a bit off ever since this episode came out, so that might be impacting my script a bit. I'm sure it's nothing severe, though. Getting back to Bill's analysis, I really enjoyed hearing about Bill's powers and his plan to invade Gravity Falls in the show. The cutaway was basically exactly what I wanted it to be, but it still managed to surprise me by revealing that Bill's imagery was present in way more than just the corkboard and mansurfer. I'm finding it hard to get into further specifics about this analysis because it would just devolve into me saying, I liked this, and this was cool over and over, so I'm just gonna move on for now. Discord's analysis was also really great. I watched some of the My Little Pony episodes where he was present to better appreciate him, and while I still don't think the show's my cup of tea right now, between those episodes and this rundown, I gained a very strong appreciation for him. He's pretty neat. This rundown made it very fun to learn about the insane limits of Discord's abilities. And that's more impressive than you'd think, considering this is a My Little Pony character on Death Battle. That combination hasn't been a portent of great things historically, but I'm glad to say that this is a very strong departure from that reputation. That's especially evident with Wiz making note of Boomstick's prior attitude toward MLP, only for Boomstick to imply that watching the show with his daughter made him more positive about it. I really like how this both fixes one of Boomstick's more annoying qualities from earlier episodes and kind of acts as an acknowledgement of Death Battle's older content that definitely shows its age now. It's very rare for this show to poke fun at itself, especially in the actual episodes and not on something like DBcast, but I really appreciate it when they do. It shows that the crew knows how to improve from their earlier work and what missteps to learn from. But that's not the only instance of this episode playing with Death Battle as a show. Discord's cutaway gag is one for the history books, and not just because it's one of the better instances of a character breaking the fourth wall for a laugh mid-analysis. Discord literally mocks the show's producer for not giving him the budget to be fully animated, and when Wiz tries to analyze his power, he twists his words and turns Wiz and Boomstick into Ben and Chad. This is straight out of that one bit from Chowder, and I absolutely love it when shows do stuff like this. So yeah, from a writing and comedic standpoint, these analyses are already really good. But even those very strong elements pale in comparison to the editing, because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, this is one of the best looking episodes Death Battle's ever put out. It's not often I feel compelled to say that about the non-fight parts, but DJ really went the extra mile and packed Bill and Discord's rundowns with insane visuals and fun Easter eggs that make them a feast for the eyes. In fact, where I would normally break down instances of the writing I enjoyed in these analyses, I'm instead going to break down the most notable edits from DJ this time. Why? Because Death Battle's editors are overlooked far too often by the general audience, and they deserve better. The names being edited around the cast of Gravity Falls is done in a very neat way. The corkboard is legendary for so many reasons, not just because it references Biff and Nem's comfort characters, but because it has a Genshin Impact map on it. So Wiz canonically plays very bad games. DJ himself appearing to pull off the Denny's at 3 AM gag demonstrates unrivaled dedication to the joke, and him pulling down the screen for the following footage is so well done. Bill's real name looks like random gibberish, but it's actually scrambled names of prominent folks in the Death Battle community, which was so cool to see. This clip of Bill just randomly fucking with someone in bowling cracks me up every time, as does the following appearance of Dragon Ball's Universe Shockwave feat. You know, just in case you forgot what it looked like since there's not been a Dragon Ball episode since Season 9's finale. Bill replacing Big Bird from the door smashing meme was great, and so was the subtle insertion of Freddy Krueger in Stan's eyes when Boomstick mentions him. This 3D Bill, which I assume to be custom made, creating the transition from the cutaway gag to the base footage by stomping down on the screen is jaw-droppingly incredible. The Weird Mageddon poster is very well made, and DJ using his own cat Gigi to set up the Schrodinger's cat comparison made me very happy. On to Discord's analysis, Crossover X commenting for Ryu vs Batman on Cable vs Booster Gold just feels appropriate. The breakdown of all of Discord's animal parts looked cool and had a ton of fun references packed into it. This animation from an MLP comic looks super smooth, as do these manga panels being slid on screen. The technical difficulties card used after Wiz and Boomstick get real is really cool looking as well. The energy rings around the Pony of Shadows are animated really well, making the panel pop a lot more than it would on its own. And of course, the insertion of Thor's ever-increasing speed feats throughout Death Battle's history is one of the most legendary things I've ever seen. If you notice that there's a lot more to say about the editing for Bill's side of the episode, you're not wrong. It makes sense though, since not only does Gravity Falls have much less media compared to My Little Pony, but Bill is in like a fraction of said media. So of course you'd have to get really creative in order to make such a limited amount of usable material stretch on for a 5-minute analysis. Ultimately, between DJ's godlike editing, the fun writing and jokes, and the interesting dissection of both fighters' abilities and series, I am once again forced to hand over the title of my favorite analysis portions in this season over to a newcomer. Stop one-upping yourselves, Death Battle, you're making me look like a fool over here. But also please do keep one-upping yourselves so we can keep getting episodes as good as this one. Well, maybe as good as this one is an unfair bar to set, because not only do the rundowns here knock it out of the park, but the animation? Oh, that shit knocked it out of this plane of existence, believe you me. This might be one of the densest fights Death Battle has ever done in how much there is to see on screen, which makes my job a lot harder, so let's not waste any more time. First, on a purely visual level, this fight looks incredible. Not only does the super detailed custom Canterlot setting look excellent, but Origin went above and beyond with the custom sprites this time. Between Bill's hench maniacs, the ponies going through hell as the fight rages on, and Bill and Discord themselves, there's not a single sprite that looks off here, which is insane with how many of them were made for this. They're also rigged super well, with no movements I can point out as being obviously stiff or awkward. But that doesn't even come close to covering everything. Bill and Discord's claymation models, their appearances in the rubber hose section, and their puppet selves are all perfect, and I would not change a thing about them. And of course, every scene animated by Morrow is fucking unreal with how good it looks. Seriously, hiring him to work on the fight animations has been one of the best choices Death Battle has made in recent memory, and his work on Billcord makes that fact crystal fucking clear. But being one of, if not the best looking fight Death Battle's ever done isn't all this has to it. The writing is spot on for both Bill and Discord, and they're brought to life with performances that sound extremely close to their official portrayals. Bill is voiced by John Pattonode, making this their Death Battle debut, and by god if they didn't nail Alex Hirsch's David Lynch impression in this fight. They get the full range of Bill's personality just right, from his snappy one-liners to his crazed moments of desperation. Likewise, Paul Goyette has one of the biggest glow-ups I've ever seen going to this episode from the previous one. His Silver Surfer voice was just good in my opinion, whereas he sounds so close to John Delancey's Discord in this fight that it blew me away. The way he nails the intonation and leans into the smugness of the character is endlessly impressive to me, and I can't get enough of it. Speaking of not being able to get enough of this episode's many great qualities, Discordant to Cipher has been living rent-free in my head since I first listened to it. It's such a catchy track with a beat that's impossible to not bounce along to. I'm literally listening to it while writing this script and I can't keep my toe from tapping. It's physically impossible. And while we're talking about it, no, Death Battle community, Discordant to Cipher is not a rap song. It's more like a musical duet sculpted around an instrumental that really suits a fight with as much reality-breaking chaos as Billcord. The fact that Bill and Discord are dissing each other in the lyrics does not make this a rap battle. Lastly, on the topic of Discordant to Cipher, the cover art is a surprise highlight. It has both Bill's iconic blue fire and the cotton candy clouds from Discord's first appearance, but of course everyone is talking about the updated Cipher reel that takes up most of the image. I'm glad I got my Cipher reel video out when I did, because this new wheel would have shat all over my predictions and made the video redundant had I waited on it for too long. The icons on the wheel that Discord is passing through have been distorted, making it obvious they correlate to episodes that have already happened. I'll just run through them all rapid fire like so as to not take up too much time with it. So yeah, have fun speculating on the rest of them now that we know which ones have been used. I've had my fill of Cipher speculation after making my video on it, so now I'll be moving on to breaking down the fight scene by scene. We open on Canterlot undergoing the cataclysmic events of Weirdmageddon, with hench maniacs stomping through the streets and Bill turning its pony residents into figurines to add to his throne. This is a great visual that calls back to Bill's throne in Gravity Falls, which was made out of the town's residents. And instead of Stanford Pines being the large statue mounted to the armrest, Celestia and Luna are there instead, which is a really nice touch to reflect Bill's utter dominance of this new world. Bill makes a very in-character joke about turning My Little Pony characters into glue as Discord appears in the main six's banners, with his approach being expected by Bill since they were already squabbling all throughout the analyses. Also, another cool detail is that these banners are based on ones that Bill turns some Gravity Falls characters into, with their symbols on Bill's Zodiac wheel being replaced by the main six's cutie marks. Discord emerges from Fluttershy's banner and pats it reassuringly, then teleporting in front of Bill's throne and writing a letter to Princess Celestia before throwing a flaming pie into Bill's eye. I've seen a couple of people thrown off by Bill hearing Discord's letter despite it not being read aloud, but this is in reference to how Twilight writes her letters to Celestia at the end of most MLP episodes, so it checks out. Also, Bill's response to Discord mentioning friendship perfectly mirrors Discord's own response to the elements of harmony in the show. This might not be an intentional reference since it's a pretty minor line, but it does tie into an interesting dynamic at play in this battle that I'll talk about later. Bill grows a giant hand and smacks Discord through the floor in retaliation, leaving a silly Discord-shaped dent in his palm and an interaction that feels totally on brand for both of them. Then, once the fight is taken into Canterlot, Discord turns a bunch of buildings into desserts that he buries Bill under. Both the 3D and hand-drawn sweets look great, and so are the cartoony sound effects of them mounting further and further on top of Bill. Discord's even holding the bell that makes the ding sound for the cherry on top. Too perfect. Discord makes a funny and Bill explodes out of the dessert mound, capping off the lame pun with a rimshot on his Weird Day drum set. Have I mentioned that this fight makes perfect use of these two's reality warping powers yet? Because if it wasn't self-evident already, the following scene should speak for itself in that regard. Bill seems to float into the air here, but what he's actually doing is pulling reality around to reposition himself before launching fire blasts at Discord. This can be seen by paying attention to the background as it spins, where you can see the waterfalls in Canterlot are flowing skyward as a result of Bill spinning reality around him. It's such a cool and fitting way to innovate on a seemingly standard spinning shot, and it also gives us, well, a lot of ponies and other things in the background. Trust me, I'm saving that topic for the end. Discord rises up behind Bill and turns the Cosmic Dorito into a literal Dorito before snacking on him. I could talk about how funny this quote-unquote attack is, or how great Discord's line about Euclidean shapes is, but I can't really focus on that because holy shit, Discord looks fucking incredible here. This hand-drawn segment looks like it was literally ripped straight out of My Little Pony. Huge props to whoever animated this shot. I can't get over how on point it looks. Bill explodes out of Discord's head with a burst of confetti and cackling to himself, only for Discord to appear out of the Death Battle lab and mock Bill's insane laughter with a very understated but excellent delivery of the line. Bill then tackles him into a chaos bubble, and we get the aforementioned claymation, rubber hose, and hand puppet scenes, all of which are fucking fantastic. Bill turning into a Mogus, Discord giving him a noogie, the slap fight, Bill's fire being turned into silly string, and Discord vomiting up the hand puppeteering him to snap his magic into effect? My head was spinning while watching this for the first time, and even now it's hard to condense adequate praise for this segment of the fight into a script. In fact, I'm not even gonna try to do it. If you need me to explain to you why this is peak Death Battle, then you're beyond any help I can offer. Anyway, Bill emerges from a portal, keep note of that for later, while holding Discord by the beard, and he makes a great Star Trek joke while kicking Discord away and squeezing him with a giant hand that seems to wrap around the screen. Discord returns the favor with his own giant hand, and I love how both of them respond to being crushed. Discord makes a party horn sound and Bill's eye bulges out of its socket. I fucking adore how well this captures the both of them and how they engage with their reality warping, with Discord's being more kid-friendly and Bill's being more grotesque. They smash their bodies into each other a bunch, getting more bruised with every impact before the shot pulls out to show them holding their smaller selves like action figures. It's so nice to see that Bill and Discord can set their differences aside mid-fight and symbolize what versus debating boils down to. It really puts the hobby into perspective for the sweats who harass and slander each other over it. At least, I'd hope it would, but I don't want to give those people too much credit. Discord then suggests changing the game up and summons a bunch of dice. I would have loved to see a D&D game between Bill and Discord, but Bill wants to play checkers instead, resulting in Discord getting smashed under a chess piece because, of course. I can't seem to remember what that piece is called though. Aaron, can you help me out?
It's a fucking horse.
Thanks, appreciate it. Discord emerges from the pool of his remains as a ghost, making appropriate sounds as he enters Bill's mind. The following scene of Discord monologuing about Bill's in-canon defeat is masterfully written, and so is Bill's retort as he gets angry over the notion of Discord thinking they're at all equal in power. Despite his best efforts though, Discord evades his attacks and smacks a chunk of his body off, flipping him off while doing so. Oh god, I love this fight. The following glitches Bill undergoes perfectly mirror his distortions in the final episode of Gravity Falls, and they look so damn good. Even more impressive is that this isn't done with a 3D model, it's all 2D stuff. A common Morrow animation W, I must say. But even those pale in comparison to Pyramid Bill's reveal, which had my jaw on the floor when I first saw it. Everything to do with Pyramid Bill is fucking incredible, from his raw as fuck reach into his own eye to sealing Discord in a bubble just like he did to Mabel, to his fractured and bleeding eye making him seem like some Lovecraftian nightmare. Seriously, this shit is more raw than the steaks in Hell's Kitchen.
That's fucking raw!
And finally, we arrive at the end of this fight. Even as his spirit starts burning away, Discord reveals to Bill that he was the true fool, because they've been back in the Nightmare Realm the whole time. It's a surprise to Bill, but you could tell that they had switched dimensions earlier on in the fight. Remember that portal they emerged from after the puppet scene? Normally when you enter a chaos bubble, you just pop out the other side after going through the crazy distortions, so this indicates that Discord had shifted the fight to the Nightmare Realm at this point. But Bill didn't notice this because he was too tunnel visioned on kicking Discord's ass. And now it's too late for him to do anything about it, as he and Discord look through the shrinking Weirdmageddon portal to see the main six lying outside Canterlot. And much to Discord's sorrow, Fluttershy is calling out for him while standing over the letter he wrote at the start, looking crestfallen as her best friend in the whole world failed to appear. Despite this heartbreaking moment, after Bill barely misses his chance to use the portal again, Discord can only laugh in Bill's face. He doesn't even try to fight back as Bill crushes his soul in his fist out of rage. And the reason for that, dear viewer, is that Discord never really planned on winning in the first place. Remember what he wrote in his letter to Princess Celestia.
Dear Princess Celestia, today Bill Cipher learned an important lesson about friendship.
Now ask yourself, why would Discord write this if he thought he would be the one left standing? He could have just told Celestia herself what happened after his victory if he thought he could pull it off. But no, he knew from the start that he probably wouldn't be able to overpower Bill. And so his goal was instead to trick the Dream Demon long enough to revert the damage Weirdmageddon had done to Equestria and save every pony. Bill was none the wiser through the whole fight, primarily because of his tunnel vision once the fight started to drag on. But it's also because of that one dynamic I alluded to earlier, the fundamental difference between him and Discord. Both of them are chaotic warpers of reality that lived for nothing more than destruction and mayhem. At least, that was the case at first. But everything changed when Discord made his first and only real friend. Because of Fluttershy, Discord learned the value of friendship and came to cherish it himself. The safety and happiness of Fluttershy is one of the most important things to him, a sentiment that Bill could never even begin to fathom. To Bill, the idea of someone like him fighting for a sappy concept like friendship or family is not just implausible, it's revolting. He was fighting for himself in this battle, and he assumed Discord was doing the same all along. That, ultimately, is what allows Discord to pull the wool over Bill's eye. He might have lost the battle between them, but he won in every other way that mattered. Bill is stuck in the Nightmare Realm again, Equestria is back to normal, and Fluttershy has been rescued from being a banner in Pill's pyramid for the rest of eternity. He might not ever see her again, but the knowledge that he succeeded in saving her is enough to let Discord laugh in the face of his own death. In the end, Bill Cipher did indeed learn an important lesson about friendship. He was shown by Discord that even someone with power that rivaled his own can sacrifice everything to protect those they care about. All the magic in the multiverse couldn't give him something as irreplaceable as a true friend. Bill could never hope to grasp that, while Discord believed in it until the bitter end. Because to him, friendship is magic. God, this ending is fucking amazing. It completely recontextualizes the entire fight, and watching it with that new meaning in mind led me to noticing even more details than I had before. Like, when Bill is reaching into his own mind to pull Discord out, Discord is looking toward the incoming hand with a smile, almost like he's anticipating it. He lets Bill hit him into the hand because with his last-ditch effort to kill Bill failing, he has nothing left to do but reveal his ace in the hole. It's fucking masterfully done, and as Bill lets all of that sink in, that he'd been completely outwitted and his plans were back to square one, he lets out his frustration in truly volcanic fashion. But it doesn't last, because as Bill says, he's been in this position before. He knows just what to do in order to escape once again. And since he knows an audience is watching, he's got millions of suckers lined up for him to extend a blazing hand to, offering a deal in pursuit of his freedom once again. I mean, what even is there left to say about this fight? This not only proves that Death Battle can use Toon Force reality warpers, but it proves they can do so flawlessly. I have no qualms calling this one of the best fights Death Battle has ever put out, and together with its analyses, the total package is more than enough to justify placing this episode at the top of my Death Battle hierarchy. Anyhow, now we're on to the results. Let me make this abundantly clear. I do not give a single solitary shit if you think this episode is wrong. If you looked at all of their points and all of the black boxes and you still choose to disagree, so long as you're doing it respectfully, I do not care. What I do care about is if you disregard every other incredible element of this episode and write it off as dog shit just because the dragon, horse, deer, goat, snake, lion, eagle, lizard, bat lost. Novel concept here, guys. You can disagree with the result of a death battle and not let that ruin an otherwise excellent episode. It should not be the only thing you care about at the end of the day, and if it is, then I frankly don't much care to hear your thoughts. Versus debating is subjective, and you should not expect Death Battle to perfectly mirror all of your opinions about a character or a matchup, lest it be wrong or biased. Stop. Stop that. Anyway, the verdict is consistent with its own pre-established logic, so I don't have any problems buying into it. And that's really all I have to say about it now that my big soapbox moment is over and done with. Weird how that works. Anyway, there's one more thing I need to address about this episode. How it pays homage to the Death Battle community. It makes sense for it to do this, since it was voted into existence by said community last year, but I didn't expect it to go this far with it. There are a ton of references to members of the community peppered throughout the video, primarily being in that one scene where Bill twists reality around him. A lot of the ponies here are OCs or ponisonas of community members, and while I don't know enough people to recognize them all, my friends Moonray and Carbonated Gem are in there, so that's pretty epic. There are non-pony cameos too, like Gumball Viking, Red Runner, and this random Range Rover that I bet really likes Shadow vs. Mewtwo. There were even more cameos that didn't make it into the official version of this scene, which shows how over the top the team wanted to go with honoring the community with this episode. There are even references to other popular matchups in the community hidden in the fight as well. It's really heartwarming to see, and it makes Buildcore just that much more special. And speaking of which, remember the name glitch I mentioned in Bill's analysis? Well, it has a lot of community members in it, and one of them is me. A lot of you watching probably just know me for these videos, but I've actually been in the Death Battle community for a lot longer than that. In fact, next month will make it 8 years for me. Death Battle is a show that set me on the path to where I am now, and so for the show to which I owe so much of myself to recognize me, even in a manner like this, it means a lot to me, more than I can express here. So just thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Although I guess it is a little worrying that I'm one of Bill Cipher's true names. Oh well, I doubt that's gonna come to anything. Oh, it's coming to something, alright. That's right, meatbags, it's me, Bill Cipher, dumbing down what I can say with this chump's voice so I don't make his lungs crawl out through his mouth and set his skin on fire. Ben 10 and Giga Chad thought they were real clever locking me up after I clowned on that failed art project of a chaos god. I bet Swan Lake over there was feeling mighty proud of himself for writing it up, too. Well, too bad for them, because their fuzzy little tribute to their idiot fan base gave me exactly what I needed. All of those three-dimensional losers scrambled up to replace my real name? Their essence is tied to my existence now! Not such a great gift now that it means they're my eternal thralls, is it? I can speak through any of them. I can control them whenever I want. And if you think I'm gonna sit on this new power, think again. Space Prosecutor here is just the beginning. All of them will be my pawns in facilitating my return. And Death Battle, you'd better pray your deaths find you faster than I do, because otherwise, I'll rip your every molecule apart and scatter them across the furthest reaches of time and space. Anyway, time to start sowing the seeds of reality's unraveling. If you survived long enough to hear this message in full, you deserve a prize. Here, have an infinite amount of prime numbers vomited from my third mouth. Remember, reality is an illusion, the universe is a hologram. Buy NFTs, bye! What? Why does it feel like I just woke up from the worst nap ever? And whoa, okay, that is not what my final score screen was supposed to look like. But I guess in a weird roundabout way, it's kind of fitting. This episode is way above a 10 out of 10. It's practically in its own league as far as I'm concerned. I can't say I think MLP really needs another episode after this one. Considering Death Battle's rocky history with the series, I think ending on a high note like this is for the best. Gravity Falls isn't likely to return either, but I wouldn't be opposed to it, that's for sure. Dipper vs. Conan, anyone? But with all of that said and done, this video's nearing its natural conclusion. I'm looking forward to seeing Cole vs. Alex finally happen, especially since, unlike most of the people who voted for this, I've actually played an Infamous and Prototype game before. But until then, check out Biff's video on this episode to see my reaction to it, and check out the other Death Battle creators in the description as well. I'll see you again very soon, and thanks for watching.